Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our unboxing video for Genesys Cloud release notes of January 2023. Again, I'm Edgar Quadra, Solutions Consultant here, and on the call today, we have Alexander and Randall. Go ahead, guys. What's going on?
Yeah, not much. It has been a rather kind of light January, but yeah, looking forward to February and the rest of the year.
Excellent. Good, good.
Yeah, I agree. Although I was looking through the release notes, and there's some very interesting stuff, even though there isn't a lot, or what was released is
Indeed.
interesting. Yeah.
There's that Genesys Cloud EX is kind of big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that little preview, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the January 11th, 2023 release notes. And the very first one for everybody here, this is going to affect your whole contact center space. And I think it's actually going to affect how the agent interface actually functions. So previously, when you get an interaction under the interaction section here, you know how your panels kind of can split up into different areas, and then you have your widgets on the right hand side and the agent screen on the left hand side. Well, now within Genesys, you can specify what that kind of default look is, but not only that, is that right panel, what is that default item or tool that gets displayed for the agent. So I'm going to go ahead and actually present that for everybody so we can see what that is all about. All right, so now let's get into the actual panel manager, and you can see where that is quickly. So under the admin tools, contact center, and panel manager. So here, when one of these interactions gets presented to the agent, you can specify which tool will be the default view. So I have my voice interaction, and I want to see the customer journey. And that allows every time the customer or the voice interaction gets connected, on the right-hand side, you'll see that customer journey map. Vice versa, other ones that say interaction widget, or even nothing here, maybe just call notes. So nice way of organizing it, and honestly, it's going to save the agent 1 or 2 clicks, a couple of extra seconds, driving that average handle time down just a little bit, microseconds. Alexander, I know that gets you. That's one of your areas of expertise there.
At the end of the year, you definitely get a couple of hours, maybe even a whole week in some extreme cases, right? So.
Yeah.
And I think that it's also kind of extremely useful also to kind of guide new hires, because whenever somebody starts working at a company, and we know it all, right? When you're facing a new piece of software or multiple pieces of software, as is the case with call centers usually, where you have your CRM, you have Genesys, you have even additional websites that you need to Google, right? If there is one tool that can help you say, okay, this is what you need to look at without even have to click on it, then it's a lifesaver for new hires, definitely.
Yeah. Resetting that environment for them. Okay, so now that everyone saw that panel manager, so what does that actually look like for the agent experience? So I have a call quickly connected here, and then this is the panel, right? So the panel can be broken up into displaying the different areas or size of these panels, so you can split it vice versa. But what the panel manager is allowing you to do is, when a call gets connected, which one of these tools will be displayed by default. So in this particular call type, I just have these particular tools in here. But if there was, let's say, agent assist or that interaction widget, it would be displayed in here if it's enabled, and then Genesys will display that tool by default. Again, like Alec was saying, saving over the course of the year, saving hours of clicks, or hours time for clicks.
Awesome tool.
Right. Next one here is the conversation auto start for mobile platforms. So this was Messenger is the new way of deploying web chat or chat for all the interactions available. So that's social for web chat and mobile. But now what's been enabled here is that automatic conversation start automatically. So more specifically, if you're initiating a web chat from mobile experience, or even from the customer's mobile app, and you have a bot kind of on that front end, Genesys has now enabled that bot to automatically greet the customer without having the customer initiate message by sending an inbound. So let's say the customer saying hi, and then without the customer saying hi, once they pop open or select the conversation, then the bot will automatically address them. It's a very, very good improvement to that feature.
And it is a very, very intuitive improvement as well. I mean, whenever you enter a store, there is always going to be a shopkeeper asking you, "Hey, how can I help you?" Right? So you definitely want your chatbot to do the same thing as soon as somebody pops in and is kind of browsing and kind of interested. You just want to grab them right and offer some help.
Yeah, for sure. So these next three here are improvements. One to voice transcriptions. So Genesys has two ways of doing voice transcription, or voice to text. And so the improvement here is they've been able to, within the actual transcription, text decorations, and as well as being able to view the punctuation, capitalization within that transcription engine. So just adding more features to that enhance the built-in voice transcription services. The next two here is now, speaking of transcription services, more supported languages. So this is a lot of the Eastern European, Northern European. Alec, maybe you can correct my geography there, but a lot of the Swedish type of languages, Genesys has now supporting that. And then this one's always like, it feels like every other month the Japanese language keeps popping up here. So this was just improving the accuracy of that transcription. So it's interesting seeing Genesys put in a lot of resources actually to the Japanese market. And then lastly here is, again, this is kind of on your end here, Alec, but making the API calls more efficient. So Genesys now enables developers to do more of a bulk request for historical adherence reports, where it seems previously the developers would have to call those adherence reports one at a time per se, but now it looks like you can do a bulk request and save those valuable API for usage numbers.
Yep. So what I'm seeing from the API documentation is that you can simply state a start date and end date, and you can get all of the historical adherence data for that time frame. Whereas the initial query used to be much kind of more narrow in nature,
right.
Basically.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then the last one, just a deprecation for a particular endpoint on the conversation endpoints. So again, it just means from a developer standpoint or from a technology standpoint, it's just they're cleaning up the APIs, making them much more efficient and being able to organize them in a simpler process. So if that's related or important to you, definitely check that out and see what the release notes for that deprecation are. Okay. All right, everyone, let's move on now to the January 18th week release notes. And one of the big ones we'll talk in a second here. But first off is video setting improvements. So this is the volume of video alert notifications. So if you receive a video request, chat request within Genesys Cloud, there's now a new, just a new notification setting for those voice prompts or for that voice notification. So if I go back into my environment here, and this is the first time I'm doing it, so I'm just guessing where that setting is. And yep, I guessed wrong. So let's go up into preferences, notifications, sound and video. Let's see, sound in here. Should be somewhere in here, I think. Yeah, right there. Yeah, so how loud that voice notification or for that video notification will be. Cool. So little UI improvement there. feature. Next one, this is huge. So guys, let's maybe dig into this a little bit more in here. So this is a brand new license level introduced by Genesys called the Genesys Cloud EX license. So if I jump into the details in here, what this really is going to enable clients that, let's say they have their preferred voice platform, but they really like the workforce engagement tools that Genesys Cloud offers, like gamification, like learning and coaching, and the workforce management module. Well, let's just bolt on that particular, let's enable users and licenses just for those features, and then a customer's bringing their own voice interactions platform. So this is actually a nice little guide that I saw in here. It might be a little bit more technical, but what it allows you to do is, as long as you sync the appropriate fields like agent status, queue, Genesys can then take that data and then feed that into its WEM tools. So then now you can leverage your voice interactions and then leverage the actual Genesys tools, the WEM tools. So guys, Alec and Randall, what do you think of that?
This is definitely a big one. And what I see is that Genesys as a company is trying to kind of meet their competitors, basically, in a sense, and just get in there and offer another level of services that were simply not available up until now. And Genesys Cloud basically having the WEM capabilities that it has, it would be really, we could consider it's kind of mismanaged in the sense that you can't use it without the whole suite, right? And the whole suite is not going to be necessary by XY clients in some cases. So I think that this is really stepping up their game, both in a business sense and in a technological sense as well.
Yep.
And what I'm expecting to see is maybe a more autonomous approach to kind of WM as a service, in a sense, right? As the time goes on. So really excited to see what's going to come up next on this front.
Yeah. And if we just deep dive into more, that license gives you collaboration as well as the analytics space, right? So all the reporting views, performance views, it's pretty cool. So I know I was quickly reading, so Genesys tries and presents that external voice interactions and matches it into the same views that you're used to. So interesting, yeah, I guess from a Star Telecom, what the sales kind of implications would be for that, or I'll talk to our sales guy, but like that still gives us an opportunity. Maybe we don't get the interactions, or let's say we get the voice sale, but we could still maybe bolt on just the EX license if that's an appetite. It's pretty cool. Randall, what do you think?
I think it's a great offering. I second what Alexander said.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So yeah, let's move on here now. Online agent count metric and owned by me filter. So a couple more new filters available for within the platform here. So again, everyone's kind of familiar with it. We go to workspace, and which one is that for? For dashboards. So then now when you go creating, and let's say you as a company, your company is very big on using the agent or the dashboards in here. Well, now you have a new filters here to say owned by me, favorites by me, or public by me. So just letting you to organize and view. If you are an organization that uses these dashboards quite a bit and you have a lot of them, just a couple of new filters here that allow you to filter out sometimes the mess that dashboards can provide there for everyone. So that's one area, and then the other one here for that is okay. Multiple media type filter support for views and exports. So when you now are exporting viewing within one of the performance views here, You can filter by more media type and aggregation and details view export. So let's look into that as well.
So if I'm not mistaken, it's going to let you actually download multiple media types simultaneously, right? Doesn't need to be only voice or only email, but it could be email and voice, right?
I think so, if we're reading that correctly here. So when we go to export here and advanced features.
I think that it's going to be under the filters, in the filter section.
I always knew these were available.
Yeah. What I understood is kind of multi-selection of those.
Deselect. Oh, shift doesn't work. Oh,
There
it is. There it is.
You could only do one. You could only do one at a time before. Now you can do multiples. That's what.
Yeah. So right there.
Update is.
Right there. So it's subtle. I think that may need a bit more. I guess it's intuitive, right? But yeah, just allows you to do that. And select, right? So if my organization handles these media types, but I only want these two, then you can do it. Okay, and then a couple of deprecations here. So an SDK for predictive engagement. OS attribute, I remember this one a couple months back in here. So just removing the value for Mac OS 10. And this is now just new IP ranges being added to media servers as well. Okay, that is January 18th release notes. Last one here is January 25th, 2023 release notes. First one here is, I know a couple months back, Genesys enabled you to drop in GIFs directly into the chat. Well, now maybe that was a little excess. Maybe the Genesys experienced that and they added permissions to that as well. So for Collaborate users, this is a new permission that you can go ahead and explore to enable or disable adding GIFs to Genesys chat. Okay, contact center callback outcome metrics. So these are now just new metrics that have been enabled by Genesys. So under the interactions, and you can filter by callbacks, or we're just filtering by media types, time to first dial and callback. So that kind of relates to more of a preview dialer in my mind. Randall, you're the outbound expert, so you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but let's show that interaction. So I'm back in my interaction here. I'm going to filter by callback, and then there should be some new flags in here. There. So from a supervisor call center management perspective in here is how long it's taking those agents to click that dial button. From that could be a coaching metric in here to keep an eye out for, and as well as time to first dial.
I can already see multiple call centers around the world definitely using these metrics for some report just to see, if the agents have been slacking any amount of time, right? Because that was one of the biggest concerns with manual callbacks ever since callbacks were introduced in Genesys up until this point.
Yeah. Okay, the next set of new release features here is related to evaluations. So evaluation, we'll get into a moment here, but it's quite big. The second point here is an update to the evaluation editor and kind of more the UI and a bit more enhancements in there. So I'll definitely get into that. and I'll show what that looks like. But here, evaluation assistance is now leveraging Genesys's text-to-speech analytics, where you build your topics and you add keywords to those topics. But now you can actually assign those topics directly to an evaluation question. And then if a particular keyword or topic is matched, then Genesys will answer that question automatically based on if it's a yes or no or the question type. So that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna let Alec and Randall dive deeper into and explaining the implications to the business, because they have a lot more experience than I do. But before we do that, let me just show what that interface kind of looks like and how you can build that assistance into your forms. So this is an evaluation form in here, and new evaluation editor. So you can see the text is a little bit cleaned up. It's following the same design principles that they're rolling out to all the to the whole application. And then lastly here, so if we go and to a particular question, so this is a yes or no question, and if I want to have Genesys automatically look for the yes answer, then each one of these questions, you'll notice when you go in there, there's this add evaluation assistance condition. So if I go to the no, for example here, I can add, I can include, and then search for one of those, either the pre-canned topics that Genesys gives you out of the box, or custom, or your specific topics, and then your specific keywords that you add in there. So if I go to, let's say, cancellation as the topic, Genesys will then, as the call goes on, it gets is part of the evaluation. If Genesys recognizes a keyword or phrase from that particular topic, it will automatically set that answer to no. So with that, Alec and Randall, kind of open up for you. I know you guys have good points on this.
I would just like to add just kind of one very simple use case, and that's going to be kind of probably the most basic approach to eval forms in general and agent evaluation. And it's kind of the first layer is to recognize whether your agents are kind of following the fundamentals and in terms of procedure. So you definitely want them to identify everybody who is calling, because you always don't want to give any account info to any to a non-account owner, basically, right? So you could have an eval question basically stating, was the customer identified? Answers yes, no, and you maybe want to pre-select no if the conversation excludes a specific topic, which would be email address, for example, just, and that question furthermore could be a critical question, meaning that if that eval has negative score, or well, if the answer to that specific question was no, then you're potentially failing the whole eval form. And then on the analytics side, you as a team lead, as a QA, you could even go and then kind of filter all interactions with critical scores, with 0 scores, and then provide additional coaching. But I think that Randall has a much more kind of in-depth use case and an explanation for the eval forms. But in a nutshell, I kind of see that kind of the space into where the eval assistance comes in really, really handy.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at this, what I envision is you can ask more questions and get whether or not the agent responded correctly in an automated fashion. So you can drill in more on the things they didn't know and offer up coaching opportunities and training opportunities. It sort of lends itself towards an adaptive testing scenario where you drill in to the things that the agent doesn't know, and the things that they do know, well, it's all automated, so you can ask more questions. For example, maybe on a typical form eval, I mean, 10 is usually quite a few questions that you would look to answer, evaluating an interaction. But in an automated environment, maybe you can do a lot more, and you can really drill in. It lends itself to the environment that Genesys is creating, where, all right, let's discover where the agent needs help and then drive the training they need to improve where they need a little bit of help so they can improve their performance, the contact center performance. And which most likely what will happen is the agent will be happier and do a better job because they have the tools they need, which deals with that attrition issue we're dealing with, not getting our agents leaving or not getting enough new agents to deal with the amount of calls that we're handling.
Yeah. And just for our audience here, I'm just going to try and find an interaction here quickly. And I'm going to add a form so we can kind of, just so everyone's kind of familiar, or if they're not familiar, how a form kind of looks when you're added to an actual interaction in here.
Well, I would say, if you think about, without this technology, how many questions would you normally ask, which is what Edgar's bringing up. 10 is a pretty solid number. Would you say, Alex, 10 is pretty solid? Maybe a few more, maybe a few less, but. And the reason why is, well, you're listening to an evaluation and clicking on things, you're listening to an interaction and clicking on things to evaluate. But if we can automate that process, the time we're investing to go and evaluate an interaction, we can focus more on what was answered incorrectly, because we have an automated process for focusing on the things that were correct, and therefore we can ask more questions.
Exactly.
That's where I see it. I'm like, okay, that I love that.
And let's also not forget that you can use the topics to actually automate eval assignments, basically, based on agents, based on days, based on queues, call durations, whatever. So you could have, I don't know, literally. So with this system and with more simpler eval forms for some maybe basic forms, you could even evaluate literally every call all of the agents have. Literally, if it doesn't take into account, I don't know, overly complex eval forms that really need to be listened by a human being, right? But if you just want a general sense of what's happening, you could do it, definitely.
And for those that are not familiar with it, so unfortunately I didn't find an interaction that has the topics, but Genesys would listen to this voice transcription, match keywords, and then lay your topic over on this hand side. It'd also tell you which keywords are being displayed in the transcription. So these topics then will automatically answer yes or no, or whatever the case may be, your question, in an automated fashion.
And the topics also pop up on the call timeline, where you can actually see the waveforms, so you can actually go into that specific piece, and you don't maybe need to listen to the noise or the agent and the customer not talking because somebody is searching for something in the meantime. So
correct, yeah.
It really makes the evaluator's life much easier.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys, for that great input, and I hope everyone in the audience is taking down notes. Okay, so we'll move on here. Additional voice transcription accuracy for Spanish. So just add in much more different dialects and accuracy to the Spanish voice transcription engine platform. Solution subscription plans licensing, and from the Genesys resource page. So now let's see here, from the resource page, you can look at pricing articles directly from the homepage. Interesting. I didn't notice that. Let me see here. Click on this link here and subscriptions. So yeah, I guess just more additional pages and features that you're able to grab directly from the resource center, not having to, let's say, jump into the main genesys.com website, maybe on the sales section, and look for this. I know I've always gone to there, but it looks like now this particular matrix is built directly into, or is accessible from the resource center. So nice little add-on feature there to a very powerful resource center already. Deprecations and announcements. So select filters in analytics API for engagement. So again, just removing and updating some of the APIs for, in this specific case, journey, aggregate query for API. So just removing that process there. Okay. So guys, we did it. That is January 2023 release notes. Looking forward to spending time with everyone next month for the February release notes. But with that, that is Randall, Alec, and myself. Thanks everyone for watching the release notes, and please remember to like and subscribe our videos. Bye everybody.
Everybody.
Bye.